We are live captioning our meetings. Please look in the chat window of our WebEx meeting where you will find a link. Please click on that link to open a web page with the live captioning. At this time, I call to order the regular meeting of the Maricopa County Community College District Governing Board for February the 24th, 2016. For the record, I will call a roll of board members. Our student advisory member, Pamela Smith.
Present.
Susan Bittersmith. Kelly Butler.
Present.
Donna Davis.
Present.
Tom Narini.
Present.
Jacqueline Smith.
Present.
Marie Sullivan.
Present.
And myself, Linda Thor. Let the record request that 7 board members are present and also our student advisory member. At this time, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance by the Estrella Mountain Community College Student Leadership.
Of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one state, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
We have 2 substitutions tonight. Dr. Augustine Erpelling, Vice President of Administrative Service, for Dr. Tiffany Hernandez, and Angela Buccelli for Dr. Kimberly Britt, Phoenix College President. Okay, and we also have Dr. Keisha Brock, Associate Vice Chancellor of Enrollment Services, also for Dr. Britt in her provost role. And then Mr. John Hoban, Vice President of Public Service for Dr. Kate Smith, Rio Salado President. We're back to you. At this time, we'll have our student life report. If you'd please introduce yourselves.
Good evening, President Thor, members of the board, Chancellor, members of the SGEC, and guests. My name is Samantha Lara, and I am a student ambassador with the Office of Student Life and Leadership at EMCC. I have with me tonight fellow student ambassador Nick Roberts. We are here to give you a campus update on EMCC and to share the resources Student Life offers. Next slide, please. The Office of Student Life and Leadership provides an environment which fosters the social, academic, and professional growth and development of students. We provide students with leadership development opportunities, avenues to participate in community engagement, co-curricular activities, and also provides basic needs resources for students in need. Student Life and Leadership is housed in the EMCC Student Union. Our Director of Student Life and Athletics is Herschel Jackson. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Student ambassadors conduct our campus tours, assist with recruitment activities and cultural celebrations, participate in various campus initiatives, and serve as student representatives on campus and district committees. They also help plan, organize, and facilitate student forums and events. Next slide, please. The Student Food Pantry provides food items as well as food boxes upon request to EMCC students. For the 2025-2026 academic school year, there have been 2,090 visits to our food pantry so far. 5,634 food items and 125 food boxes have been distributed. Championed by our administration, renovations of the Student Food Pantry started in summer of 2025, and the project was completed in fall of 2025. Glass installments, cabinetry, countertops, and flooring were installed. To expand our food items, a refrigerator and freezer were also purchased. At this time, we would like to thank our college president, administration, and facilities management. They understood the needs of our students and directly addressed the important issue of food insecurity. Next slide, please. And now for programs and events. Our past events include Fall 2025 and Spring 2026 Welcome Week, the Cesar Chavez Luncheon for Hispanic Heritage Month, Fall Fest, Fall Student Appreciation Day, Coffee Talk, Holiday Reception and Holiday Angel Program, and Finals Week of Champions. Next slide, please. Student Appreciation Day is something unique to our campus. It was created so that student life could engage students to foster a connection, to let them know they are seen and part of the campus community, while also showing our appreciation for their academic efforts. Student Appreciation Day is held once per semester with a specific theme. Held in October with a Halloween theme, Fall Student Appreciation Day consisted of pizza, Halloween candy and snacks, and a costume contest. In the fall, there were over 460 students who attended the event. Next slide, please.
Road to Success launched in fall 2025 as a year-long student success programming series designed to support students from fall to spring through frequent, intentional, conversational touchpoints focused on key student success skills. The series features monthly workshops that reinforce positive college-going behaviors and help students remain engaged throughout the academic year. During the fall term, the series recorded 224 total attendances, representing 122 unique students, demonstrating strong repeat participation. To incentivize and reward positive college-going behaviors, 5 $350 student scholarships were awarded to engaged participants. The series will continue in the spring term, building on established momentum and the student engagement. Next slide, please. This year, EMCC faculty and staff adopted Holiday Angels, donating wish gifts to 28 families and 38 children in need. To conclude the program, Student Life hosted a holiday reception providing snacks, refreshments, and arts and crafts for the faculty, staff, students, and family participants of the Holiday Angel program. Next slide, please. EMCC hosts kickoff celebrations for National Heritage Months, Hispanic Heritage Month, Native American Heritage Month, Black History Month, and Women's History Month. Student Life signature heritage events, such as the annual Cesar Chavez Luncheon for Hispanic Heritage Month, are held annually. In October, our keynote speaker for the Cesar Chavez Luncheon was Alejandro Chavez, community activist and the grandson of Cesar Chavez. Tomorrow is our Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Luncheon to celebrate Black History Month. This event, hosted by Student Life, is in its 20th year at EMCC, and Pastor Jonathan Logan of the Antioch Baptist Church of God in Christ will be his keynote speaker. Next slide, please. Clubs and organizations are a tremendous part of student life on campus. Students who are involved on campus enjoy an enhanced student experience, serve their communities, develop important leadership and life skills, network, and meet others of similar goals and interests. Currently, we have over 20 active clubs, and I'd like to share some highlights that took place in the fall and the spring. In December, the Community Connections Club hosted a Music and Munch open mic end-of-year celebration with music, food, and an open mic, giving students the opportunity to share their various talents. Our clubs also take part in collaborative events. In October, the Community Connections Club, Psychology Club, and the Black Student Union held a Know Your Rights workshop. The Psychology Club also co-sponsored the International Education Week Global Connections Mixer in November, connecting students with shared interests in different cultures, international travel, and languages. Next slide, please. Our student athletes are dedicated to athletic and academic excellence. Our Coaches Association academic All-Americans were Jose Zaragoza, Ricardo Martinez Sandoval, Milena Dennett Dale, and Madison Yazzie. Our NJCAA All-Academic First Team was Jose Zaragoza, and our NJCAA All-Academic Third Team was Madison Yazzie. Next slide, please. Current and upcoming events include our annual MLK Luncheon, the Women's History Month Kickoff, Alternative Spring Break, Spring Student Appreciation Day, Spring Coffee Talk with Administration, and the Finals Week of Champions. For Alternative Spring Break, Student Life is partnering with Agri-Free Food Bank to give students the opportunity to give back during the break. EMCC staff and students will be assisting with food and clothing distribution. Next slide, please. The Fall 2025 Coffee Talk on Monday, November 17th provided an opportunity for students to connect with EMCC's president and vice presidents and participate in a Q&A. During the session, students enjoyed learning about their hometowns educational, and career journeys of our administrators. Topics and updates discussed in the session were ICE protocol and campus points of contact, AI training, degree opportunities, and a partnership with Microsoft, the process of curriculum and program creation, and the renovation of the food pantry in the Montezuma Hall. Next slide, please. This concludes the student life report for Australia Mountain Community College. Thank you very much for your time.
Well, thank you for a very informative report, and you've certainly accomplished a great deal this year. Do any board members have any questions or comments? Pamela.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I would say that throughout your presentation, you spoke about workshops. So my question to you would be, do you find that having workshops on campus with students, that you find them more engaged throughout the academic year?
Absolutely. I'd say through the workshops, you can definitely see a large amount of students coming to one place as opposed to just going home, staying on campus, having something to do and learning something. And, you know, you can network with other students as well. And it's just a great opportunity.
Thank you. And with those workshops, my last question, with those workshops, have you find that the students have increased their percentage or their GPA?
I'm not very familiar with the student's GPA, but I will say that you do practice critical thinking skills, practice all those soft skills were that EMCC preaches, like communication, leadership, and all that stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you're welcome. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, please.
It sounds like you have a really active campus and really involved with and the students are very involved. Are there any issues or concerns that you think that the board needs to know about that the students might have?
Some suggestions that we have received in the student union is the time of lunch. I know our lunch closes at 1 p.m. and I know some students were concerned about that because not all students are even there by 1 p.m. So I feel like with the lunch closing by 1 p.m., we're missing a whole demographic of students who like are there for afternoon classes or even night classes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you're certainly welcome to stay, but we also recognize that you're a long ways from home and that you probably have homework and other preparations to do. So we will not be insulted if you leave. And now the Faculty Executive Council, Stacy. Oh, yay.
President Thor, members of the board, members of the Shared Governance Executive Council, and guests. My name is Stacy Smith. I'm residential faculty at PVCC and the Faculty Executive Council president. And it's always hard to follow the students, I have to say. This is probably the toughest spot. So February is recognized nationally as Heart Month. During this month, we are reminded of the importance of cardiovascular health, prevention, and medical innovation. It is fitting then that we highlight a program that prepares students to play a direct role in advancing life-saving health research. So today I've invited Professor Abigail Rusu to share about the district's clinical research program.
Good evening. President Thor, members of the board, Dr. Gonzalez, members of the Shared Governance Executive Council, and guests. My name is Abigail Rusu, and I serve as residential faculty at Paradise Valley Community College, as well as the program director for one of our newest occupational programs in clinical research. Clinical research is the careful study of new medical ideas in people to make sure they are safe and effective. We launched this program a few years ago in direct response to requests from healthcare stakeholders across the Valley. Specifically, Mayo Clinic initially approached us at PVCC with a critical need, a shortage of clinical research coordinators and data coordinators. In less than a year, PVCC successfully developed and implemented a clinical research program to help address this workforce gap. From the beginning, one of our core priorities was to remove barriers to entry and ensure equitable access for anyone interested in pursuing a career in clinical research. Mayo Clinic emphasized this from the beginning, the importance of fostering an inclusive environment, one that welcomes students from all backgrounds, open doors for new talent, and helps bridge existing disparities. Since then, additional healthcare partners have joined us, including Phoenix Children's, Banner Health, AKDHC, and others. Our students come from diverse walks of life, and our industry partners have embraced them as they begin their careers in the clinical research field. We've achieved our goal. One of the most impactful components of our program, and one area that I'm especially proud of, is the observership experience offered through Mayo Clinic. In CRC 160, that's one of the final courses that students take before graduation. Students have the opportunity to spend 2 weeks on site at Mayo Clinic in Phoenix, working on one-on-one alongside experienced clinical researchers. This hands-on exposure provides invaluable real-world insight and allows students to build meaningful connections with potential employers. We are excited to expand similar observership opportunities with our other healthcare partners. Clinical research offers tremendous career potential for our students, and the outlook continues to grow. Our graduates pursue careers as clinical research coordinators as well as data coordinators. These two roles are critical to the success of clinical research studies. Clinical research coordinators manage the day-to-day of the study, and data coordinators work with information, the data, to ensure it's accurate and timely. More than 140,000 people are employed in bioscience companies and hospitals across Arizona. On average, bioscience salaries are 30% higher than private sector salaries statewide. At PVCC, we offer 3 pathways for students seeking to launch their career in clinical research. We offer 2 certificates or CCLs, one in data coordination and one in clinical research coordination. And then we're really excited just this fall, we announced a new AAS degree in clinical research. This was designed for seamless transfer to our university partners for bachelor degree completion. This is a perfect fit at PVCC as we want to expand into the allied health space as it complements the needs of our market area. Our students are thriving in the program. Here are a few thoughts that our students asked for me to share with the board tonight. I've officially completed the CRC program. I truly thank you for such an outstanding experience. I returned to school after working in allied health for more than 20 years. The instructors were amazing, which made the transition back to school so much easier. Your guidance and support made a real difference, and I'm grateful to have been part of the first class to complete the program. The Mayo Observership was a gift at this point in my education. I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity. My internship has been incredibly rewarding. I feel energized by the patient-facing work, the hands-on experiences, and the kindness and teamwork that flow through every part of that department. It already feels like home, and it's the kind of space where I can see myself growing long-term. I want to thank you for your time this evening, and thank you for supporting innovative programs like our clinical research program at PVCC. These are programs that strengthen our workforce, expand opportunity, and enrich our community. Paradise Valley Community College remains committed to the expansion of the allied health workforce, as well as the allied health programming. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a wonderful program. Do the board members have any questions? Great job. Thank you very much. Adjunct faculty group, Kim?
Good evening. Good evening to President Thor, governing board members, Chancellor Gonzalez, members of the Shared Governance Executive Councils, and our guests. The adjunct faculty group are happily into the spring semester, and we're working on a variety of items for our colleges and adjunct faculty at large. In addition to the many committees that both our colleges and the district that the reps and I all serve on, I have a few highlights from the last month to share with you. We have a communications committee, and our communications committee has been creating a series of FAQs referencing adjunct faculty information. These FAQs will include adjunct compensation, adjunct faculty benefits, grievances, expectations of reps, and how to get involved on your campus as a rep. We're hoping that these can serve as a resource for the adjunct faculty reps to address questions that may come from our constituents or about the rep role if somebody's interested in getting involved. We've also updated our Canvas course. We have an internal Canvas course that we use to get our reps up to speed when they've been elected to the role. Gives them a resource to help them understand things, as it can be a little overwhelming when they first start, and it's a steep knowledge path at first. And this gives them information on the overview of the role, context, resources, expectation for the role, campus specifics and meetings, and the aforementioned FAQs. One of our newest reps, in fact, from EMCC, Jennifer Mon, has just gone through the program, and she's already contributing and giving us suggestions on what would help it make it better for us. And so we're showing that that works. And we have somebody else new who's going to start taking it because we've just finished a special election to fill an open rep position at Glendale Community College. Our newly elected representative is Wes Tierney, and he'll be soon taking this Canvas course as well. Lastly, our Outstanding Adjunct Awards nominations are underway, and we're currently accepting nominations from adjunct faculty, as well as residential faculty and also department chairs. Those selected as outstanding adjunct faculty will be honored in a formal awards reception in April, alongside family, friends, and college and district leadership. And we're looking forward to hopefully seeing some of the people here tonight at that event. That concludes things for tonight. We've been busy, but I have just brief things to say because we're all just chugging away at our committees. So any questions?
Board members, any questions?
All right, thank you so much.
I'm sorry, do you know when the event will be?
Yes, it's April 17th, Friday night at here at the this location at the conference center.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. We're now to the Chancellor's update. I understand that's in two parts. Oh, I'm sorry. How about staff representations update?
President Thor, members of the board, Chancellor Gonzalez, SGEC colleagues, and guests. Staff representation leadership has been evaluating our current processes and has developed staff representation 2.0. The self-nomination period for representatives will begin next week. We're moving to a 2-year model with half the representatives standing for election each year to ensure continuity. Jason has been the architect of this endeavor and has dedicated significant time and effort to creating a solid vision that will serve as the foundation for the future of staff representation. Now, Jason is here to introduce a new segment we are calling Job Family Spotlight. I will now turn it over to Jason.
Next slide, please. We had a request from one of the board members to really help explore the different types of work that employees are doing in the district. So we figured this would be a good way. Tonight, we're going to start with 2 job families, the facilities and properties. And thank you. So facilities departments range anywhere from 10 to 100 employees. Now, keeping in mind that a lot of times that can be part-timers and contractors like our day porters and our custodians. You can see that the campuses vary. Like some may only have one campus, some may have distributed campuses. So the needs vary between the campuses. The other side of that is the property materials management and the auxiliary services. And so like everything that happens here that in the CAD to make all this happen is auxiliary services. Some campuses, that's part of facilities. They'll go and do the room setups, and others, they'll break it off. And we do want to acknowledge that March 6th is Maintenance Workers Appreciation Day, and that's part of why we chose this as our group. Next slide, please. So quite often you'll find facilities are going to be under your administrative services division and BPs, unless you're talking about the district where it'll be under business services. Property material management varies by college to college, whether it's in facilities or it's in the college business office. And then some colleges may or may not have a dedicated auxiliary services. Next slide. So I'm going to start with the operations part. In this part, you'll see there's facilities and ops workers, management, because sometimes you need generalists that can do many different things, but you may have a campus that's so large that you have programs that need carpenters. So some campuses have dedicated carpenters, that's all they do. Almost every campus has an electrician because for OSHA requirements, you have to. Same thing with HVAC, the AC goes down in the middle of summer. You can't wait for that to come back up. But you'll see that depending on the needs, we'll have everything: painters, locksmiths, plumbers, project managers as needed to make everything work. And then the property materials people are the ones that do our shipping, our receiving. They bring stuff in, they inventory it, they help us track it, and they make sure that we're documenting everything properly for fiscal. And go to the next slide. And this is a group from South Mountain where they had a training recently. So you see they have a large range of property materials people, plumbers, electricians, groundskeepers, the whole range. And so that's the those two job families. Any questions on those while we're at this point?
Board members, any questions? Donna?
And that's really invite our Australia Mountain College Spotlight presenter, Omar.
Good evening, governing board members, Dr. Thor, governing board members, and Dr. Gonzalez. Here's our report from Australia Mountain Community College staff representatives. We have increased communication to staff via newsletters and reminders. We've introduced brown bag sessions for continuous staff engagement and education with staff representatives, inviting guest speakers based on subjects requested by staff. We have an upcoming staff barbecue on March 26th, in which culinary students will prepare lunch for staff. Pretty excited about that. The number of staff that have asked questions about concerns have increased, which shows that staff are more familiar and feel safe and supported to come to us. We have staff reps represented on Community College Digital Accessibility Committee, or CDAC, Day of Engagement Planning Committee, and leading a game for Rory's Wellness Challenge. On behalf of our staff representatives and myself in Australia Mountain Community College, we thank you for your time.
Board members, any questions on the Australia Mountain report? Thank you all three. Now we're ready for the Chancellor's two-part update. Dr. Gonzalez, would you introduce the first presenters, please?
Yes, President Thor, I would invite Dr. Keisha Brock and Michelle Axtinelli to provide an update on the Student Lifecycle Management Project, please.
Thank you. Okay, good. Excuse me. President Thor, members of the board, Dr. Gonzalez, members of SGEC, and guests. My name is Keisha Brock. I'm the Associate Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs at the Maricopa Community College District. This is my colleague. I'm going to quickly let her introduce herself.
Michelle Agustinelli, Associate CIO for Academic Technology Services.
Next slide, please. We are here to provide an update on the very exciting work that we have the honor of leading, Student Lifecycle Management Solution, which is it's a twofold effort. We are implementing Salesforce, which is a best-in-class technology across the student lifecycle, but we are also transforming business processes as part of that work. We're going to give you just a quick overview, some updates, a little bit of information on the timeline, and then a little first look at what the admissions app, at least the first couple of screens, so that you can get a feel for what we're developing. Next slide. So this work is connected to Excellence 26, our strategic plan, and it launched as a part of that, along with the Maricopa Strike Force. You might recall that Strike Force was a group that was called together as a part of that work to immediately improve the student experience. There were some short-term funds allocated to staff. And we also had a group of people around the system who came up with what future state admissions guiding principles and design practices should look like. That led to the recommendation for the acquisition of a new technology tool. We collaborated with over 50 people throughout the system to go out to an RFP, and we had demos and interviews and made a recommendation to the governing board to support the purchase of Salesforce with our partners, InterEdge, their implementation partners. You all supported that, and we're very grateful. This is going to be a real experience changer for Maricopa. That then led to some work right away. Even before you approved it, we knew that whatever tool we implemented, we would have to come up with one business process for our partners, not 11. So we immediately began the work with Moran, who are some consultants, to come up with what the one ideal best practice business process would be in the space of recruitment, admissions, case management, advising. We did that work. Some of that work still continues along the later parts of the project. And now we are working very closely with InterEdge, our implementation partner. We've had discovery sessions and have done a lot of work in the space of RFI and admissions. Next slide. As I mentioned, there are 4 verticals where this work is occurring. You can go to the next slide. I really want to just highlight a few of these. All of the work, all of the decisions we're making, the meetings we have with our engagement partners, all is centered around these guiding principles and design decisions. A couple I want to call out. The first and foremost, it's student-centered. We're looking at the Maricopa student and how can they apply once and enroll anywhere. So that really is guiding our design and our work with our implementation partners. You can also see we want to make sure there's celebration of milestones, that we streamline communication, and that we have a single system, Salesforce, and business processes. Next slide. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Michelle to give you a real-time update on the project.
Thank you, Keisha. So since we last met with you, we have acquired various tools, Salesforce, as well as some other supporting tools to actually bring SLIMS to life. We have completed business process redesign. So we worked with cross-college, cross-functional teams to look at our business processes and define a single processes in most cases that we could use for admissions, for recruiting, for case management. And we continue to do that work. We've started sharing those requirements with our InterEdge partner. We have started data integration, and we have actually set up some of our tools. They're not actually in use yet, but there's a lot of setup that has to be done first before we can actually implement our version of Salesforce. We are also actively working on a communication and change management plan. While we have involved, again, cross-college, cross-functional teams, we want to make sure that everyone is informed of these changes, how it might impact them, and how it will start looking to our students. So we're working on a SharePoint site, which will be able to share progress on the project, as well as collateral and eventually training materials, etc. Our InterEdge partner is well underway in development, so we are excited to start seeing the product of that. Next slide. This is our timeline. This timeline is only focused on what InterEdge is doing, so it does not touch all of the work that we did to get here. But as you can see from this, we have a number of different areas that InterEdge is helping us with, from Education Cloud, which is one of the modules of Salesforce that we purchased, through data integration, Marketing Cloud, another product that we bought from them. And you can see a lot of the work has already started. We are targeting a release of the first version of requests for information. So these are RFI forms that are on college and district web pages in July of this year, and then a new admissions application in October of this year. Next slide. Again, we've tried to keep stakeholders from across the district involved in this. So business process redesign had teams working in admissions, case management, recruitment. As we've gone through the requirements with InterEdge, we've continued to engage those folks or additional folks at the colleges to make sure that they agree with the business requirements that we've handed off to InterEdge to make sure that the solution that they design for us will meet all of our needs. And of course, as we move into development, we will be having those same folks and others help us with system integration testing, with user acceptance testing, et cetera, to make sure that the solution meets our needs. And this is a mock-up. This is a very early mock-up. This is probably not what admissions will look like.
Michelle doesn't like me to show these previews, but
I do not approve, but she convinced me that we should probably show this. So these are early versions. It may not actually look like this, so don't be surprised if over the summer it doesn't actually look like this. But right, we wanted to kind of give a first look, right? So if you're familiar with how admissions works today at Maricopa, we have 4 doors, right? If you're a new student, if you're a returning student, et cetera, you go through different places. This time you'll have just one place. You go one place, and then we're going to ask you questions. So that second page up there, why are you coming to Maricopa, is going to get to your intent. Are you a high school student who are taking classes? Are you just taking a class for personal interest? So instead of those 4 doors, we're going to ask you your intent so we can better align what your goals are with what sort of applicant you are in our systems.
that's all she'd let me show.
It's true. It's true. Next slide. Any questions we can answer for you?
Thank you. This is all really good news. Any questions from board members? Dr. Narini?
Yeah, the high school counselor in me is coming out here, and I'm sure this has been addressed. I just want to assure the high school counselor in me. We know that with financial aid, when a student applies to financial aid, they have to list all the colleges that they want the financial aid information to go to. And we know that a lot of our students are swirling. They're taking classes at different colleges in order to make a full-time schedule. Will this be able to address that so that when a student applies and is taking classes at several different colleges, so that we can get them a full package instead of part-time packages at other schools?
So it will be able to address certain pieces of the student experience, but I think one thing to remember here, and I did share this with the SGEC, when we implemented our current SIS system, we implemented it as 10 institutions, and we report to federal student aid as 10 different institutions. So there are some limitations, very small limitations with what we're going to be able to do with Salesforce that result from the way we're set up from a financial perspective and a financial aid perspective. That said, we are hoping that the communication, the student portal, and a number of other things, there are some workflows that we can build in the tool once we get it up and running. There will be ways that we can make that experience seem more seamless for students, but we cannot, without re-implementing SIS, truly plug those fissures that are kind of in place in our ideal landscape. So we will be able to make it much better, Dr. Narini, but that probably will be, we're looking at 2027 once we get the whole student portal up.
So because right now the way I understand it is the student has to initiate the additional paperwork to get
Consortium agreement?
Yes.
Yes.
And so with this system, will it happen automatically, or will the student still need to initiate?
We can set up workflows in the future state to help automate some of that. Again, it won't be with the first version in October. It'll be iterative, probably 27, 28. We'll be working with our financial aid professionals and others to make that a much more seamless experience.
Yeah, this is really all exciting. This is great.
Yeah, we're really excited.
Yeah.
Very
so
excited.
yeah, that was the only little hiccup I saw with the students. So, thank you.
Ms. Sullivan?
I think my question's really premature, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Yes,
that
you can
is-
show more things.
Yes, please. No, good job here. And we won't hold you to this but
yes.
How do you along the way plan to measure the success of each step so that you know to move on to the next one? Maybe that's anyway. So I'm curious about that, how you're measuring that movement and success, and then are you seeking student input as you move along the way?
So we have not sought any new student input. However, we will have student testing along the way. And we have a lot of data that we've collected about our old admissions process over the years. I mean, we have done many different versions of relaunch of admissions. So we're using all of that information. We're using research we've done on other institutions that are using tools effectively. We will have the opportunity for students to engage with this. What Michelle failed to mention is we're releasing a beta version in July with the version of the RFI. This will allow staff members to get into the tool. This will allow us to bring in student focus groups to use the tool and tell us, does this flow make sense? Is this working? We won't be able to make huge logic changes at that point, but we can really get a sense of, is it meeting the needs of our students as they move through the admissions application? Anything you want to add, Michelle?
With the new tool, there'll be different points where we could incorporate feedback mechanisms. So we'll be able to, was this helpful to you? Did this answer your question? Things like that. More opportunities in this tool than we have in some of our other tools. So we'll be able to start incorporating that as we see the need.
Excellent. I knew you'd have answers. I just was curious what they were.
And we will have measurements of success along the way. I don't know. I know that with our InterEdge partners, there are touch bases and measurements of, did we meet this particular deliverable? We will also be looking at ways to work with our partners on, do you feel informed? Can we, what more information can we provide? There'll be training, etc. One exciting thing I think that it's important to, this is a real changing moment for Maricopa. In our current system, we have 3 CRMs, none of which really talk to each other. So this is such a game changer for Maricopa. And thank you for investing in this. I think looking ahead in the coming years, we're going to just be amazed at what the student experience will be.
Thank you. Good job.
Ms. Davis.
So my work uses Salesforce as well. So my question would be, how long is this data integration going to take? And especially with 3 different systems, and I can't even imagine how much data there is to.
Right. So the big data integration for any project for Maricopa is typically the student information, right? So our SIS has millions of records, right? And so one of the first things we've done with InterEdge is decide how much prior student data are we bringing into the system. So we're bringing in the last 10 years worth of students, because lots of students come back many years later and take courses. So the data integration is a huge piece. We have weekly, usually multiple weekly meetings to discuss technical integration with InterEdge. We've been very impressed with them so far. They really seem to grasp our uniqueness and complexity. So we're hoping that some of the issues that we tend to have with other vendors and the size and complexity of our data, they're in a little better position to help us integrate into the new tool.
That's great. Okay, thank you.
Any others? Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Keisha and Michelle, and President Doran, members of the board. I'm going to continue with my update. Since we had the students present about their activities at Estrella, my report will reflect some additional information about Estrella. So Estrella is making strides in student success, reaching the historic headcount of 10,815 students and exceeding its completion targets, passing the strategic plan goal of 1,300 completers by 2026 with 1,313 completers in 2025. The in-semester withdrawal rate fell to 12% in the fall of 2025, which was down from 16% in 2023 and 20% during the pandemic. So great strides there. Strategic scheduling and load management reduced course cancellations as well. Each year, Senior College Day contributes to enrollment growth with an average 61% attendee to enrollment conversion rate. This spring, more than 500 high school seniors are expected to participate. So very quickly, folks, 61% of 500, how many more students should they anticipate? All right, we'll figure that out later. Since 2023, Estrella has raised nearly $375,000 for the Empowered for Student Success campaign, including a recent $20,000 gift from the Estrella Rotary Club and 8 Estrella Mountain Lions. These are students, by the way, also known as the Great 8, made history as the first graduates of TSMC's Technician Apprenticeship Program, earning industrialized maintenance mechanic journeyman cards from TSMC, and AIT certificates from Estrella Mountain. And that received some really good news as our leadership around the county was involved in that. Estrella is partnering with the West Valley Regional Chamber to host the second annual Taste of the West Valley on April 17th, with a portion of the proceeds supporting student scholarships. Estrella has been recertified as an Arizona Veteran Supportive Campus. We're really happy to hear that, especially given your proximity to the Air Force Base out there. So congratulations. Thank you, President Rivera, and you and your team for all the excellent work out there. As far as the system enrollment update is concerned, at this point, head count is 92,737 students, which is up 4.7%. So we've been able to hold on to quite a number of students since the start of the spring semester. Total attempted hours is up 5.8% from spring 2025, which suggests that our students are taking more credit hours on average, which is also good news. And we're really eager to see what the summer and the fall will bring. So early summer and fall registration will begin here, and I think the next week or two. Does that sound about right? Definitely by spring break. So looking forward to see what those numbers are. As far as legislative updates concerned, our government relations team held numerous meetings this month to advance our legislative efforts to restore state operating aid, our #1 primary item on our legislative agenda. At the federal level, programs supporting community colleges nationwide received level funding after a period of uncertainty, and our adult education program was fully funded. So thank you, Lauren and team, for your good work on that front. President Thor, that concludes my update. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. We're now at Citizens Interim. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the governing board. In compliance with the open meeting law, the governing board will neither discuss nor take action on issues raised during this portion of the agenda. Members of the public who speak shall not engage in conduct that substantially interrupts, delays, or disturbs the peace and good order of the proceeding of the board, including but not limited to the use of profane language or obscene gestures, yelling or similar demonstrations, hand clamping, stomping of feet, or the excessive use of noise. Such actions may serve as cause for the board's president to direct that the speaker immediately conclude his or her remarks. Ms. Macias, do we have any public comments? We do not. We're now at the consideration of the consent agenda. All items under this section of the agenda are consent matters unless they are removed from the consent agenda at this time. Do any board members or the chancellor wish to remove any items from the consent agenda? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Moved by Ms. Davis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Sullivan. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? By a vote of 7-0 and the student advisory vote, the consent agenda is approved. We're now moving to non-consent action items. The item is a second read and adoption of the proposed FY27 tuition and fees. I understand that Lindsay Wilson has a presentation on the results of the survey that the board requested be made of students.
Good evening, President Thor, members of the governing board, chancellor, members of SGC, and guests. I am presenting to you tonight results of a survey that was sent out to our students. Next slide, please. We used two primary data gathering tactics, both quantitative and qualitative, to gather some student input. The first was a random sample of our student population that received a survey that was sent to approximately 3,000 randomly selected students. The sample was stratified using the proportion enrollment of each college as well as their enrollment status, so part-time or full-time, to ensure we had a random sample of our population. The purpose was to gather their feedback about the hypothetical tuition scenarios and to understand the impact on students.
We also, and I just want to say thank you to our student advisory board member, Ms. Pamela Smith. She helped us facilitate gathering student feedback at our student senate meeting. After I'm done giving you sort of the preliminary results, I'd invite her to offer any feedback she also heard from real students along the way. Next slide, please. So the first question we asked students was about the academic and financial decisions that they would be faced with. And they were given a variety of options, everything from taking fewer classes to transferring to a new university to, needing to just stop attending or seeking additional financial resources. When faced with a $5 per credit increase in tuition, 28% reported that it would not change anything about their educational journey, but 40% of them said that they would take fewer classes. 13% also said they would stop attending altogether. When faced with an $8 per credit increase in tuition, 32% said they would have to work more hours, 45% said they would take fewer classes, and 22% said that they would actually stop attending. So you can see just the jump just from $5 to $8 was pretty significant. Next slide. When we asked them about their basic needs, 35% felt they would be impacted based on food, housing, or transportation at a $5 per credit increase. 51% said they would be impacted at an $8 per credit increase. And the unsure option we had in that survey shifted significantly when we hit that $8 threshold, indicating that students shifted from uncertainty to a confirmed hardship. Next slide, please. When we asked them about the impact in an annual format, the results became even more clear. So when asked about a $150 annual impact for those who were attending full time, 55% said they would face hardship. That would mean reducing the amount of groceries they purchased, maybe foregoing a utility bill in a semester, or not being able to fill up their car with gas or rideshare or something of that nature. That number jumped when it went to 240. So again, a consistent theme that there's hardship all the way around, but there is a distinct jump between that $5 and $8 level. Next slide, please. When asked how an increase would change their educational plans, 58% said any increase would change their plans. 42% specifically said that either increase would change by taking fewer credits or delaying completion. So, full-time students may opt to become part-time students. Part-time students may just take longer to finish. Those were the kinds of responses we saw in that question. 30% reported no change regardless of increase. Throughout the other responses, those were probably made up by seeking additional revenue sources like scholarships or financial assistance. Next slide, please. We asked about the perception of the increase. When asked how they would feel about Maricopa Community Colleges at a $5 per credit increase, 60% or 62% would not feel differently, but 35% would feel more negatively about Maricopa Community Colleges. Again, at an $8 per credit increase, 55% would feel more negatively. So there seems to be a distinct jump with each of those tiers. Next slide, please. Moving on to some of the student senate feedback, where we're able to have more of a qualitative discussion. Peers shared that they were often working 2 or 3 jobs to afford to go to college, and that scholarships often do not cover the full cost of attendance, as they were looking for scholarships. DACA-related administrative barriers increased the strain. And there was also questions about the foundation scholarship accessibility. So again, just a messaging thing that we'll probably have to consider within how we message the students the scholarships that are available. The consensus from the Senate was that $5 per credit hour was the more acceptable of the 2 options, and they were very unsupportive of the $8 per credit increase. I'd like to stop before I go on any further and just offer, if you have any feedback because you were in the room, so maybe there's some additional feedback you'd like to provide.
Thank you, Lindsay. I think this is great. I mean, this is really what we discussed during that meeting, but they were very adamant about that $3 difference with the increase. Some posed more of a question about the scholarships, which they were a little bit, questioning about that and what was available, because some of the programs have been cutting funding from the federal level. So they did talk about that too, but definitely the $5 they were more acceptable with. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next slide, please. So just a final summary, both the quantitative survey and qualitative Senate feedback shared very similar tendencies in their results. Both increases had some negative impact on students in some capacity, but the $8 per credit increase was certainly much more pronounced, raising the risk of stop out, increased borrowing, delayed completion, or basic needs hardship. And the student leadership sentiment aligned with the survey's threshold. So next slide, please. So again, just in summary, an increase of $5 per credit does create strain for some students. The majority would have some level of adjustment, but they seemed to remain enrolled. It was viewed more manageable by our student leadership group, and the increase at $8 per credit certainly would indicate a greater hardship or disruption, a higher stop out or debt risk, and it definitely had a higher negative perception amongst students. And with that, I will conclude our survey results and ask if there's any questions.
Well, thank you very much for doing this. Are there questions? Ms. Bittersmith.
Not really a question, but first of all, thank you both to Lindsay and to Pam for doing this again. And we had done this very successfully the last time we had this conversation about tuition increases. I do think it's gratifying to know that there is some potential acceptance of at some point a tuition increase, but that the knowledge of the differential is extremely important. I think helpful to us as we look forward. I have some questions as we get into the larger issue, Dr. Thor, but I don't know that there are questions that I have to impose on either Lindsay.
Very good. And we don't have a motion on the floor yet either.
Thank you to both of you.
Ms. Sullivan.
I also want to thank you for this survey, and certainly this is important information. The one thing, going back to your very first slide, I did brief math that was within my purview ability to do. And I noticed that regardless of $5 or $8, you're looking at 53% people that would be impacted by even a $5 change versus the 67% who would be impacted by the $8 per credit change. So that tells me half of our student body that was surveyed is still indicating negative reaction to a tuition increase at this time. And so I just wanted to note that as a cumulative percentage versus the variance there. The other thing, again, going back to my crazy math, what our students said, and I wondered if you could explain this a little better. 58% would change their education plans, 42% so either increase would change their education. Doesn't that equal 100%?
So the 42% is a subset of the 58%. Yeah. And it was just drawing out their actual plans further about taking fewer credits or delaying completion.
Okay,
You're very welcome. Yes, otherwise we would hit 100%.
Yeah, I was going to say.
We would have 130% enrollment. We'd be doing great.
Right. Yeah. So again, this is informative, and I appreciate the effort that went into putting this together to frame our consideration. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I just want to make sure I understand when students questioned the Maricopa Foundation scholarship accessibility, is that the precise word that they weren't sure if they were eligible, or was it also about a lack of awareness about the existence of the scholarships, or could you elaborate, please?
So I was not in the room for the qualitative portion, so I may defer to our student advisory board member.
So that was actually that students were not aware of what was available. Some students not even hear about the foundation because of the accessibility of the website. A little bit sometimes hard to more navigate through that. So they were a little bit unsure of what, unless it's coming through the particular college campus or student life and leadership information, they're not sure about the scholarships coming down the pipeline.
Thank you.
Well, again, thank you very much, Lindsay. At this time, I will entertain a motion regarding the proposed FY 27 tuition and fee schedule. Dr. Narini.
Yes, I'd like to move to adopt the tuition and fee schedule for fiscal year 2027 with no changes to the tuition rate. Other changes to the registration, GED test administration, and childcare fees are as noted in the action item.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Sullivan. Is there any discussion? Ms. Bittersmith.
President Thor, I actually just have a question on this. May be a Leanne or a Kim question. And they already know I'm going to ask the question, so I know what the answer is, but I think the board just ought to hear this again. I am prepared to support this motion, but there's a cause and effect to this, as we know. Because if we keep tuition as it is, then our options as we move forward to final budget approval are, neither one of them are great, in my opinion. One is we have to decrease spending. Two, and poor Lauren's leaving the room as we tell Lauren she has to produce a miracle to state funding, which is not totally on her shoulders. Or three, we have to look at the reality of a property tax increase. There are several of us on this board that are concerned about a property tax increase because of what we told voters when we went to the ballot on Prop 486. So I just lay that out. There's a cause and effect here to this decision. As we come back with that second review and what we're going to do to make this budget balance. And again, some of it could be going back and looking at what our cutting programs are, the things that we don't want to do. It's a challenging decision. So just laying that on the table. Again, I'm prepared to vote yes tonight. But as we come back in May, it's going to be a very challenging conversation. Unless poor Lauren, who left the room because I was going to talk about this, can pull a rabbit out of a hat. And it's going to be a challenge, but one that we still need to work on as we go through the budget process of the state legislature.
Are there any board members that need clarification on that cause and effect? Okay, I think we're pretty clear. Any other questions or comments?
I had a point to make.
Yes, Dr. Narini.
Thank you. That, when we had the budget presentation, I really appreciated the slide where it said, this is what it's going to cost a student in terms of how many hamburgers would take to pay for this versus what it would take the homeowner to pay. And I just want to make a point that, especially as we're looking at the 40%, even at a $5 credit increase, the 40% would take fewer classes and they would delay their graduation. The impact on the student is more than just that tuition. If they delay their graduation by even a year, we're talking $30,000, $20,000 or $30,000 compounded because they've had a delay for a year that they could be earning because they have their degree and or their certificate and they could be earning money. So it's far beyond the $150 or $240 that we're talking about. We're talking, big money, $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 to these 40 to 45% of the students who would be taking fewer classes. So I think it'd be a huge impact on them. So that's the only point I wanted to make.
Thank you. Does anyone need the motion read again? Everybody good? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Yes.
Pamela? You said
Nay. Yes, President.
okay. So the 7 board members all voted aye. The Student Advisory Board member voted no. So we're now at first read and information items, the employment and separations report for December the 6th, 2025 through January 16, 2026. Board members, do you have any questions? Seeing none, we're at the first read of a proposed board policy 2.2.2 board committee structure. This is a revision of an existing board policy. Board members, are there any questions? Ms. Sullivan.
Point of clarification. So until this is approved, you still, under the current policies, have authority as board chair to make appointments and form committees.
I do.
Thank you.
We're now at first read of proposed governing board policies 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and 1.4, effective July 1st, 2026. Do the board members have any questions or comments? All right, moving on to the monitoring report. The budget analysis report for the general fund for the 7 months ending January 31st, 2026. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, we're now at community linkage. Ms. Pamela Smith, do you have anything to report?
Thank you, President Thor. I do. So over this past month, was able to attend the National Legislation Summit in Washington, D.C. With the ACCT. I'm also a Student Advisory Committee trustee member, so it was really exciting to be able to work with my fellow trustees, speak on Capitol Hill, meet legislature. So it was really a great experience for that. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Report.
Ms. Bittersmith?
Thank you, President Thor. As student trustee Smith reported, many of us were at the AACCT meeting in DC. I just want to comment that I want Pam to know, and because she was very engaged in what was happening. And I think, I don't want to speak for you, but I think you shared with me that as we engage in this conference next year, we need to find a more expanded role for you in terms of talking directly to members of staff on Capitol Hill. So I just want to put that on the record. So that's my assignment, to work with Lauren and others on how we can take the first training and then turn it into real conversations. So in DC, I've spent time, in fact, Tom and I co-shared committee assignments where we switched committees. So we went to both committees, the Student Success Committee and the Public Policy Committee, which I thought was extremely helpful. And obviously had a chance to spend some time with our other trustees and engage in some other programs. In addition, yesterday, along with Dr. Thor, we attended our first search committee meeting as an endeavor to move forward in that process. And that is my report.
Thank you, Ms. Butler.
I have no report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Davis.
I also attended the ACCT conference where we watched the Super Bowl part of the time while we were there. So we had to support Miss Sullivan in her quest for a win for the Washington team. And I'm now on a national committee as well. So I attended my committee meeting, and I attended Dr. Narini's committee meeting, and I attended Ms. Bittersmith's committee meeting. And so it was a very fruitful conference. We did hear from, I was just trying to look up on the agenda, one of the undersecretaries from the Department of Education, which I found to be very interesting. Let's see, we did a tour, Ms. Sullivan, Dr. Narini, and I recently completed a tour of Phoenix College Preparatory School, which was also very interesting, and I'll let one of them talk about it. And I briefly got to meet the Guatemalan ambassador at Glendale Community College about a month ago, and there was a great turnout of students at that event. I was very impressed. So it was, I felt privileged that I had the chance to meet him. So thank you for inviting me. And that's my report.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan.
First, I'd like to say that it was really, really, really cold in Washington, D.C. when we were there. I think the registered temperature at any particular time high was 16 degrees. The day we left, I think it leaped to 32 degrees. However, when we had to venture out, it was with wind chill factor -3. So I felt that was an endurance test in how to weather, no pun, the cold weather. But that being said, it was a productive meeting, I believe, in Washington, D.C. with this group. And I serve on the governance committee, which none of them wanted to attend, but I did reciprocate by attending all of their committees so that we could all be aligned and hear the same thing when it came to policy, when it came to student success and those interests that we have as a collective. And I think it was very informative to all of us. One thing that surfaced quite a bit, of course, was around the national agenda, legislative agenda, and congressional agenda. And one of the things that was celebrated was the workforce Pell passage legislation. And one of the things we were all encouraged to do, and so I'll carry that forward, is to inquire in our own districts, what are we doing with Workforce Pell? And I know I've heard that we are all over the place with Workforce Pell and doing the right thing. I'm wondering if we could have some sort of presentation at some point about what are we doing in the Workforce Pell space and how is that being addressed and implemented throughout the district, particular colleges tied to certain industry sectors. And then also, they did bring up something which we won't address now, but we'll go through appropriate process. And that is the interest to look at tuition differently in that space. I'm not setting up red alarms, don't get worried, but as you move forward through the budgeting process, that may be something for us to take a look at, because it was definitely presented in that space that there may be, I don't want to use this word because it'll send ripples of horror through all of us, the differential tuition as we look at Workforce Pell. But given that it's so significant and the shift in how we can afford support students, I think it'd be beneficial for us to hear that. So I'm putting that out there, Dr. Thorne.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Did you make a note of that request? Thank you.
He's smiling. He says yes. Okay. And so that, and yes, we did hear the Undersecretary of Education, Mr. Kent. Interesting was a good word. He did talk a lot about appropriations. And one of the things I think that we have to be alert to, and certainly Lauren and her team know this, and that is, as they're doing appropriations, the news might reflect that there is a huge chunk of change being appropriated. So no difference because they're using the same dollars, but they're not allocating them to particular categories as they have in the past. So that leaves the discretion of how they might use all of that money differently than what they have done previously. So we're not to be misled, if that's, can I use that word, Lauren? Misguided, that everything's hunky-dory and the same. So maybe that's another thing we can hear about someday, about how we're looking at, right. But yes, we are for this year, but they're also talking about their projections for 27. So anyway, just throwing that out there. So that concluded the ACCT conference. Also wanted to support our student trustee in moving forward and all of her good work there. And I did with Dr. Narini and Ms. Davis do the tour of PC Prep Academy. And one thing that stood out was the word inspire. And though they were wearing t-shirts with inspire, and no, I did not wear my t-shirt. Did you wear your t-shirt? No. Okay, he didn't. Oh, you were EMC. Okay, good job. I think that it was truly a moment to be inspired by the pipeline that will be coming to us through our own high schools. And the students were extremely inspiring to me, and recognizing they're thinking of their futures. Of the 5 sophomores or 4 sophomores and 5 seniors that we met, all but 2 are doing something in the healthcare field. And one is anticipating being an OBGYN. And given her presentation, she's the current student body president. I would say nothing is going to stand in her way. She's going to be an OBGYN if she has to start delivering babies tomorrow. So the fact that they're already thinking through dual enrollment, through where they're going to go next, the counseling they're getting, their relationships with you and your colleges, was both thoughtful in how they articulated their future and how they are imagining how they're going to get there. So kudos to all of you who are working with these dual enrollment students. and kudos to the high schools, because you are creating students who are both inspiring and inspired. And it was very, very moving, and probably the most enjoyable experience I've had in a little while. So thank you. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan, and we would like to congratulate you on being elected chair of the Arizona Association of Community College Trustees. Ms. Jacqueline Smith.
I do not have a report. Thank you.
Dr. Narini.
Yes, let's see. On January 29th, I attended the Friends of South Mountain Community College reception, where we had Donna Washington, an internationally renowned storyteller, perform, which was an excellent evening. On February 4th, I attended Phoenix College Prep Academy for their site council meeting. And like the others, I was at the ACT Legislative Summit, where it was cold. I actually even ventured out for the cold. On February 17th, with Ms. Davis and Ms. Sullivan, I was at PCPA, and the students, they presented to us last meeting, and when they're in their own element, they were a lot less nervous and a lot more impressive, as Ms. Sullivan had said. But I also wanted to say, in addition to how great the students are, all the wonderful things the students are doing, a lot of it is attributed to the staff and the faculty of the school. Miss LaShawn Starks, the student advisor, was awarded the Arizona Family Silver Apple Award, celebrating excellence in education, impacting student engagement and community involvement. And you can watch on Channel 3 and Channel 5 next Wednesday, March 4th, in the afternoon. They're going to do that little video where they presented her the golden apple. And that concludes my report, except for, and hope you all enjoyed your Black History Month. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Narini. And for my report, I would like to announce the board assignments for 2026. Representing us as ex officio members on the foundation board will be Jacqueline Smith and Donna Davis. The board's audit and finance committee will again be chaired by Kelly Butler. Thank you very much. And will again include Marie Sullivan. The board's public affairs committee will be chaired by Susan Bittersmith, and the members are Dr. Narini and myself. We have a new board policy and governance committee replacing simply a policy chair. The chair will be Marie Sullivan. The other members are again Dr. Narini and myself. You would think, since I'm making appointments, I wouldn't still be the Chancellor's Evaluation Process Chair, but somehow it got in here. And then, of course, representing us at AACCT is its chair, Marie Sullivan. As Ms. Bittersmith mentioned, we had the first meeting of the Chancellor's Search Committee yesterday afternoon. It was an organizational meeting where we reviewed the committee charge, confidentiality commitments, reviewed the open meeting law, which as a board committee we are subject to, the search timeline, as well as a draft of the position profile. Today in executive session, the board met to review the position profile, and we expect that as early as tomorrow it will be posted. Our consultants, academic searches, will immediately begin an active search, which will run through April the 2nd. Next is the establishment of our next meeting dates, times, and places. On March 10th, we will have a agenda review at 4:30 virtually. Our regular meeting will be March 24th at 6:30, although we anticipate a study session at 5 p.m. regarding the fiscal year 27 budget. That concludes our meeting. Thank you, everyone, for your time tonight. Let the record reflect that the board has adjourned the meeting at 7:55.